Nobody in the bar believed the wealthy stranger would stay. A weary bartender in a worn shirt, eyes familiar with long nights and longer mornings. A billionaire walked in carrying the scent of money and power and a smile that had never been refused. Just 5 minutes, she thought. 5 minutes before he crumbled. 5 minutes before he realized he did not belong in her world. But 5 minutes passed. Then 30. Then the entire night. And for the first time in her life, she lost a bet, not because of money, but because of a man who chose protecting his son over conquering her. Barrett Kane wiped down the mahogany bar for the 3rd time that hour. The wood grain had long since memorized the pattern of his cloth, circular and methodical, like everything else in his life. Outside the windows of North Harbor Bar, Ravenport's old shipyard district glowed under sodium lights, casting orange shadows across rain-slicked cobblestones. In his early 30s, night shift bartender, law student by day when he could stay awake long enough to absorb constitutional precedents and tort reform, single father to a 7-year-old boy who asked questions Barrett did not always have energy to answer. His mother was dying, stage 4. The hospice nurse came twice a week now and the bills came daily. This was Barrett's world. Responsibility stacked on top of exhaustion, held together by coffee and the bone-deep knowledge that giving up was not an option. Not when Leo drew pictures of superheroes at the kitchen table. Not when his mother still smiled when he visited, even though the morphine made her forget his name sometimes. The bar's owner, Vance, poked his head out from the back office. "Quiet tonight. You can close early if you want." Barrett shook his head. "I'll stay the full shift. Every hour mattered. Every tip." The law school debt did not care about tired eyes or a child waiting at home with a babysitter who charged by the quarter hour. He had stopped dreaming somewhere in the middle of this routine. Dreams required energy. Barrett allocated elsewhere, to Leo's school supplies, to his mother's comfort care, to the small apartment that leaked when it rained, but cost less than anywhere else in Ravenport. Romance. He had tried once, a couple of years ago, a dental hygienist named Lila, who smiled pretty and laughed at his jokes. After a few dates, she had met Leo. After several dates, she had realized Barrett's life had no room for spontaneity. No space for weekend getaways or late dinners that ended in her apartment instead of his. She had been kind about it. "You're a great guy, Barrett, but you're not available. Not really." She was right. So he had stopped trying, stopped looking, stopped letting himself notice when attractive women sat at his bar and made eye contact that lingered a second too long. "Not every opportunity is worth taking," he told Leo once when his son asked why Daddy did not have a girlfriend like Tommy's dad did. Leo had accepted this with the easy wisdom of children who trust their parents implicitly. Barrett wished he had that same faith in his own choices. The rain picked up outside, drumming against the windows. The shift was winding down. Soon he could start the closing procedures. Soon he would be home. In the morning he would wake Leo for school, make breakfast, catch some sleep, then head to his contracts class. The door opened. Barrett looked up reflexively, preparing his professional smile, the one that said, "Welcome," without promising anything more. Then he saw her. Serena Blake did not walk into rooms. She entered them, changed them, owned them, before the door closed behind her. Tonight she wore a charcoal coat that probably cost more than Barrett's monthly rent. Designer, but understated. Dark hair pulled back, minimal jewelry, a face that did not need the makeup it wore expertly. Mid-30s, he guessed, maybe 40, the kind of age that money made ageless. But it was her eyes that made him pause mid-wipe of the already clean bar. Tired eyes, searching eyes. The same eyes he saw in his own mirror, just wrapped in a different kind of exhaustion. She chose a seat at the far end of the bar, away from the two regulars nursing their beers and pretending not to watch her. The kind of seat someone picked when they wanted space, but did not want to be completely alone. Barrett approached with his professional smile firmly in place. "Evening? What can I get you?" "Scotch," she said. Her voice was silk over steel. "Neat. Whatever you have that is not trying too hard." He appreciated the specificity. Too many people, in expensive coats, ordered drinks they had seen in movies. Things that required muddling and garnishes and 3 different liqueurs Barrett had to dig out from the back shelf. He poured her a Glenlivet, good enough to satisfy, not so precious it came with a story. She took it without comment, without the usual small talk about brands or proof or whether he had anything smoother. Just lifted the glass, sipped, and nodded once. "Thank you," she said. Then silence. Barrett returned to his closing prep, monitoring her peripherally the way bartenders learn to do, making sure the glass stayed full enough or empty enough, watching for the signs someone wanted conversation or wanted to be left alone. 10 minutes passed. She did not check a phone, did not open a laptop, just sat with her scotch and her thoughts, staring at nothing in particular. Usually this was when men approached. The regulars, the guys who saw an attractive woman alone and interpreted it as invitation. Barrett had his speech prepared, the polite version of "she is not interested," that kept the peace. But tonight, before any of them could move, Serena spoke. "Long shift?" she asked. Barrett paused in his inventory count. "Every shift is long here." "You say that like you have somewhere else to be." "Home," he said simply. She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "No drink after work. No unwinding. I unwind by sleeping." A small smile. "Practical. Necessary." She sipped her scotch. "You are not what I expected." Barrett resumed counting bottles. "What did you expect?" "Small talk, flirting. The usual dance when someone like me sits at a bar like this." "Someone like you." He knew what she meant. The coat, the posture, the way she held her glass like she was used to holding things worth holding. "I do not dance," Barrett said. Not coldly, just factually. For the first time since she had entered, Serena laughed. Not the polite social laugh of networking events and board meetings. Something genuine. "No," she said. "I do not think you do." She finished her scotch, placed the glass down gently. Barrett expected her to signal for the check. Instead, she said, "Tell me something true." Barrett looked at her fully, then saw past the coat and the confidence to something underneath. "Something lonely. I have a son," he said, 7 years old. "He is the only true thing I know." Serena's expression shifted. Not disappointment. Something else. Recognition, maybe. "What is his name?" "Leo. Like the lion. Like the constellation. His mother chose it." Barrett caught himself. "His mother is not." "We are not. You are raising him alone." Serena finished. She nodded slowly, signaled for another scotch. When Barrett poured it, she wrapped both hands around the glass as if cold despite the bar's warmth. "I built an empire," she said quietly. 12 countries, 4,000 employees. She looked up at him. "And I have never felt more invisible than I do right now. Because you are the first person in months who has looked at me without calculating what I am worth." Barrett said nothing, because what could he say to that? That he understood. That he had spent years being invisible to everyone except his son and his dying mother. But his silence, the quality of it, seemed to be what she needed. "Thank you," Serena said. "For what?" Barrett did not ask. The 2 regulars left, stumbling into the rain with mumbled good nights. Vance had long since gone home, trusting Barrett with the closing. The bar settled into that particular quiet of late nights. Not empty, but intimate. Just 2 people and the rain. Serena had moved closer, not in a predatory way, but like someone gradually warming to a fire. Still 1 seat between them, still respectful of boundaries. "Tell me about Leo," she said. Usually Barrett deflected personal questions, but something about the hour, the rain, the exhaustion in her eyes that matched his own loosened something. "He wants to be a firefighter," Barrett said. "Last week it was an astronaut. Next week it will probably be something else. He is 7. The world is still full of possibilities. But not for you." Barrett dried a glass that was already dry. "I used to want to be a prosecutor. Put away the people who hurt others. Noble, right? Self-righteous college kid thinking he could fix the world." "Why did you not?" Serena asked. "Leo's mother left when he was 2. Said she was not ready to be a parent. I was barely ready myself. But ready does not matter when you are the only one left. Then my mother got sick. Law school had to wait. Everything had to wait. But you are still studying. Night classes, online courses. It takes longer this way." He shrugged. "Leo needs to see that giving up is not an option. Even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard." Serena was quiet for a long moment. "Then my father built the Blake Group from nothing. Steel mills back when America still made steel. He died when I was 23, and everyone expected me to sell. A young woman, no business experience, grief-stricken, easy target. But you did not sell. I tripled the company's value in 5 years. Diversified, moved into tech, real estate, green energy. Made Forbes' most powerful women list before I turned 30. She stared into her scotch. "Want to know the truth? Do I? I'm not sure I like the person I became getting there. Ruthless, calculating, every relationship a transaction, every conversation a negotiation." She looked at him. "When was the last time you had a conversation that was not about your son, your mother, or your responsibilities?" Barrett almost lied, then did not. "I cannot remember." "When was the last time you laughed? Really laughed?" "Leo told a knock-knock joke last week. That does not count." "Why not?" "Because that is you being a parent. I am asking about you, Barrett. The person underneath the dad, the bartender, the law student, the son. When was the last time you were just you?" The question struck deeper than it should have. Barrett set down the glass he was holding. "I do not know if there is a just me anymore," he admitted. "Every part of who I am is connected to someone who needs me." Serena nodded slowly. "I have the opposite problem. Every part of who I am is separate from everyone else. I am the CEO, the boss, the woman with the corner office, and the driver who waits outside. People smile at me because of what I can do for them, not because of who I am." "Is that why you are here? In this bar, in this neighborhood?" "Maybe," she said. "Or maybe I am just tired of being Serena Blake for a few hours." "Who are you then?" She smiled. Genuinely smiled, eyes crinkling at the corners. "I have no idea. Is that not pathetic? 37 years old and I do not know who I am when nobody is watching." "You are someone who drinks Glenlivet without pretense," Barrett offered. "Someone who asks real questions. Someone who said thank you to a bartender and meant it. Low bar. You would be surprised how many people clear it." Serena laughed then. Not the polite laugh from earlier. Something fuller, freer. The sound of it changed the air between them, like a window opening in a closed room. "God," she said. "When was the last time someone made me laugh without trying? Does Leo's knock-knock joke count? Tell me the joke. Knock-knock. Who is there?" Serena played along. "Interrupting cow." "Interrupting cow who? What?" Barrett did his best 7-year-old impression, complete with enthusiastic arm movements. Serena laughed so hard she nearly knocked over her scotch. The sound filled the empty bar, genuine and unguarded, and completely at odds with the powerful woman who had walked in hours ago. When she caught her breath, her cheeks were flushed, eyes bright. "Thank you," she said again. This time Barrett understood what she was thanking him for. They talked until closing about nothing consequential. Books they had read, movies they had almost seen but never had time for, the particular loneliness, of being responsible for everything. Serena never mentioned her company's name. Barrett did not ask. Some part of him suspected she was more than she appeared, but some part of him did not want to know. It was easier this way. Two people in a bar, stripped of context. Finally, she checked her watch. "I should go." Barrett nodded, already calculating the tip he would not accept because she had given him something more valuable than money. A few hours of conversation that did not cost him anything emotionally. Serena pulled out her phone, the first time she had touched it all night. "Have dinner with me. Thursday. Somewhere quiet." The invitation hung in the air between them. Barrett felt the pull of it, the temptation. When was the last time a woman had asked him to dinner? When was the last time he had wanted to say yes? "I cannot," he said. Serena's expression did not change, but something in her eyes shuddered. "I see." "No," Barrett said quickly. "It is not—" He stopped, started again. "I do not do this. Dating, going out, any of it. Not because I do not want to, because I cannot afford to. Afford." She glanced around the bar. "I am paying, Barrett. Not that kind of afford." He leaned against the bar, trying to find words for something he had never had to explain before. "Leo is 7. He is at the age where he gets attached easily. If I bring someone into his life, even peripherally, and it does not work out, he is the one who pays the price, not me. I was not suggesting you introduce me to your son. No, but that is where it would go eventually. If this, whatever this is, continued. And then what? You are Serena Blake." He saw her eyes widen slightly at the name. "Yes, I figured it out about an hour ago. Tech billionaire. Forbes cover. The woman who turned her father's steel company into a green energy empire." He had looked her up mentally, piecing together details from business news he had absorbed during stolen moments between classes. "So you know," Serena said flatly. "So I know you're not looking for something permanent in a bar in Ravenport's Dock District at midnight on a Tuesday. And that is fine. You do not owe me permanent. But I cannot do temporary, not when my son is involved." He stopped himself. "Not when I can already feel myself wanting to say yes." The honesty of it surprised them both. Serena stood slowly. For a moment, Barrett thought she might argue. Rich people were used to getting what they wanted, and he had just refused her. Something money could not buy. Instead, she nodded. "You are protecting him. That is—" She paused. "That is rare. Most men I meet are so busy trying to impress me. They forget about the people who depend on them. I do not have the luxury of forgetting." She pulled on her coat, buttoned it against the rain that had not stopped. At the door, she turned back. "For what it is worth," she said, "I think Leo is lucky to have a father who loves him more than he wants things for himself." Then she was gone, disappearing into the rain-soaked night. Barrett stood alone in his empty bar, wondering why doing the right thing felt so much like loss. Serena sat in the back of her town car, rain streaming down the windows, and made herself a promise. She had never been good at accepting no. Not when investors told her a woman could not run a steel company. Not when competitors tried to buy her out. Not when the board of directors suggested politely but firmly that she step down and let someone more experienced take over. She had built her empire on refusing to accept no as a final answer. But this was different. Barrett Kane was not a business rival or a skeptical investor. He was a man with principles, protecting a child who trusted him. And Serena found herself respecting those principles even as they frustrated her. "Miss Blake," her driver, Marcus, caught her eye in the rear-view mirror. "Home?" "Yes," she said, then softer. "No, drive." They drove through Ravenport streets, past the glittering downtown where the Blake Group owned 3 buildings, past the renovated waterfront where her company's logo glowed in blue neon, to the old dock district where North Harbor Bar sat dark and closed. She was being ridiculous. She knew this. Serena Blake did not chase after bartenders. She had a company to run, a board meeting soon, a merger to finalize in Singapore next week. But she could not stop thinking about the way Barrett had looked at her. Not with awe or calculation, but with the simple recognition of one exhausted person seeing another. No one looked at her like that. No one refused her like that. 5 minutes, she murmured. Ma'am? Marcus asked. An idea was forming. Not manipulation, not a transaction. Something else. Marcus, what do you know about single fathers? My brother raises his daughter alone. Ma'am. Wife passed years ago. Does he date? No, ma'am. Says it is too complicated. Too much risk of his daughter getting hurt. Serena nodded slowly. Barrett was not unique in his hesitation. He was simply one of the few men honest enough to name it. Most would have said yes to dinner, promised nothing, taken what they wanted, and disappeared. Barrett had refused the entire dance because he knew where it led. What is the longest your brother went without adult companionship? Serena asked. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Going on years now, ma'am. He is lonely. You can see it. But he does not trust anyone enough to risk his daughter's heart. How would someone earn that trust? I do not think anyone can, ma'am. Not quickly. It would take time, patience, proof that they would not run when things got complicated. Serena stared out at the rain. Time and patience. The two things her lifestyle made nearly impossible unless she changed the lifestyle. I bet myself 5 minutes, she said aloud. Ma'am? That is how long I thought he would last. 5 minutes before he started flirting. Before he saw the money and started calculating angles. 5 minutes before he became like everyone else. She smiled in the darkness of the car. He stayed all night. Talked to me like a person. Turned me down to protect his son. She looked at Marcus in the mirror. What would you do with a man like that if you were me, Marcus? I would figure out if I was willing to be the person he would say yes to. Serena leaned back in her seat. That is either the most honest advice I have ever received or the most devastating. Both probably, ma'am. She laughed quietly. Drive home, Marcus. I have a board meeting soon and a decision to make about whether some things are worth being late for. But days later, a delivery arrived at North Harbor Bar. A simple arrangement of books, hardcovers Barrett had mentioned in passing, a legal thriller, a history of American labor movements, a children's book about constellations. No card, no name, just books. Barrett knew immediately who had sent them, and despite himself, despite every logical reason to maintain distance, he smiled. She came back on Thursday. Barrett saw her through the window before she entered, standing in the rain, coat collar up, clearly debating whether to come in. This time the bar was busier. Happy hour overflow. People escaping their own lives for a few hours. Barrett was managing 3 conversations at once, mixing drinks, running tabs, being the easy smile and listening ear that customers paid for. Serena waited, not at the bar, at a small table in the corner, ordered a scotch from the floor server and waited. Barrett finished his shift, closed out the register, told Vance he needed a moment before starting closing procedures. He sat across from Serena without preamble. The books, she said simply. You mentioned them. That was a test. No, it was a thank you for that night. For treating me like a person instead of a bank account. Barrett studied her. She looked different tonight. Less guarded, maybe. Or perhaps he was seeing her differently. Why are you here, Serena? Because you said no and I respected it. Because you are right. I do not do permanent. I do not do complicated. My relationships last as long as they are convenient, and then they end with lawyers and paperwork and everyone walking away civilly. She met his eyes. But I have spent days thinking about knock-knock jokes and the way you talk about your son. And I realized something. What? I do not want to be the person who walks away civilly anymore. I want to be the person who stays uncomfortably, who tries when it is hard, who... She stopped. I am not good at this. Asking. Being vulnerable. Usually I just decide what I want and acquire it. Despite himself, Barrett smiled. I am not acquirable. I know. That is why I am asking. She leaned forward. Have dinner with me. One dinner. With conditions if you need them. Boundaries. Whatever makes this feel safe enough to try. He should say no again for all the same reasons. Because Leo came first. Always. Because Serena Blake's world and his world did not overlap. Because temporary felt inevitable and temporary would hurt. But God, he was tired of saying no to everything except responsibility. Conditions, he said slowly. No expensive restaurants. Somewhere normal. Somewhere I would not feel like a charity case. Agreed. We do not talk about money. Yours or mine. No offers to help. No suggestions about lawyers who could expedite my mother's insurance claims. No fixing. Agreed. And this does not involve Leo. Not yet. Maybe not ever. If this goes anywhere, we move at his pace. Not ours. Serena nodded. What is his pace? Slow. Careful. He needs to trust someone before they become real to him. Like father, like son. Exactly like that. Serena extended her hand across the table. Do we have a deal, Barrett Kane? He looked at her hand, at her face, at the woman who had built an empire but was sitting in a dock district bar, negotiating terms like they were merger conditions. One dinner, he said, taking her hand. And if it does not feel right, we stop. No hard feelings. No hard feelings, she agreed. But they both knew in the way you sometimes know things before they happen that walking away would not be that simple. Not anymore. Serena chose a small Italian place in Ravenport's historic district. Family-owned, red-checkered tablecloths. The kind of restaurant that had been there for decades and would be there for decades more. Not expensive, not cheap, just real. Barrett arrived first, which surprised him. He had expected her to be the type who showed up exactly on time. Assistant confirmed and calendar blocked. Instead, she hurried in late, hair slightly wind-blown. Meeting ran over, she said, sliding into the booth. Construction delay at the Singapore site. I had to... She stopped. Sorry, no work talk. That was the rule. Your rule or mine? Yours. But I think it is a good one. She shrugged off her coat. Less expensive than the last one, he noticed. Still nice, but not CEO visiting the peasants nice. Tell me about your day. Constitutional law lecture. My professor has a theory that the Fourth Amendment is essentially dead, and he spent hours explaining why. Leo has a field trip tomorrow to the fire station, ironically, and I'm supposed to chaperone, but I have work. Can you miss work? Cannot afford to. Serena opened her mouth, then closed it. Barrett saw the impulse cross her face, offering money, offering to cover his shift, offering to solve the problem. I am proud of you, he said. For what? Not offering to fix it. It is killing me, she admitted. I solve problems. It is what I do. Watching someone struggle with something I could resolve with one phone call is... She grimaced. Apparently who I am is a fixer who cannot stop fixing. Who told you that? My last 3 relationships. Before they ended. She studied the menu without seeing it. I dated a professor once. Sweet man, published poet. Within months, I had gotten his work optioned for a film adaptation, secured him a residency in Prague, and renovated his apartment building's heating system. And he left. He said he felt like a project, like I was checking boxes. Acquire boyfriend, optimize boyfriend's life, move to next acquisition. She set down the menu. He was not wrong, but you are here, not fixing anything. I am trying very hard not to fix anything, Serena said. It is surprisingly difficult. Their server arrived, a grandmother type who called them all honey and recommended the puttanesca without being asked. They ordered wine neither of them knew anything about and split an appetizer they both wanted. Tell me about the prosecutor dream, Serena said when the wine arrived. What kind of cases did you want to try? Barrett swirled his glass, watching the wine catch the light. child welfare cases, domestic abuse, the kind of crimes where the victims are too scared or too young or too broken to speak for themselves. I wanted to be the voice for people who had lost theirs. That is specific. My mother, before she got sick, she worked for social services. I grew up hearing about kids in impossible situations, parents who hurt them, systems that failed them. She would come home some nights and just cry. Could not tell me details because of privacy laws, but I could see it breaking her heart case by case. He took a sip of wine. I thought if I became a prosecutor, I could be the person who made sure those kids were safe, that the people who hurt them faced consequences. Why past tense? You are still studying law. Because family law takes money, time, energy for the emotional toll. And right now I have none of those things in surplus. He shrugged. Maybe in another life. Maybe when Leo is grown, and my mother... He did not finish the sentence. Serena was quiet for a moment. My father used to say that postponing your dreams is just another way of abandoning them. That time does not wait for perfect circumstances. Your father ran a steel mill. He could afford to chase dreams. He started as a welder, worked long shifts, saved every penny, took risks that could have bankrupted him. He used to tell me, "Serena, comfortable people do not build empires. Desperate people do." And you believed him. I became him, she said softly, for better or worse. I am desperate in different ways now, for success, for control, for something that feels like it matters. But desperation drives me the same way it drove him. Their food arrived. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. What would you do if money was not a factor? Barrett asked. If the Blake Group did not exist tomorrow? Serena set down her fork. Considering I would... She stopped, laughed. I have no idea. Is that not pathetic? Honest, maybe. Not pathetic. I have spent years building something I'm not sure I even want. It is successful. It matters to thousands of people whose livelihoods depend on it. But if I am being truthful, she met his eyes, I think I would travel. Not business trips where I see hotel conference rooms and airport lounges. Real travel, small towns, long train rides, places where nobody knows who I am. You could do that. Could I? I have board meetings, projects in 12 countries. If I disappear for a week, dozens of things go wrong. Then you have built a company that cannot exist without you. That is not an empire. That is a prison. The words were harsher than Barrett intended. But Serena did not flinch. You are right, she said quietly. I have built a beautiful, successful prison, and I am too afraid to leave it, because I do not know who I am outside these walls. They looked at each other across the red checkered tablecloth, two people trapped in different ways, seeing their own reflection in the other's eyes. We are quite a pair, Serena said finally. You cannot chase your dreams because you have too many responsibilities. I cannot chase mine because I have too much success. At least we are self-aware about it. That makes it better? No, Barrett admitted. But it is something. They finished dinner, talking about smaller things. Books, movies they would never see. The particular humor of 7-year-olds. When the check came, Serena reached for it automatically, and Barrett let her. Not because he could not pay, but because fighting over the bill felt like pretending they were something they were not. Outside the restaurant, rain had started again, soft and steady. The kind of rain that felt permanent in Ravenport. I had a good time, Serena said. Thank you for agreeing to this. I did too, Barrett admitted. Despite myself, despite your better judgment, despite being absolutely certain, this is a terrible idea that will end badly. She smiled. And yet, I would like to do it again. If you would. Serena stepped closer, not touching, but near enough that he could smell her perfume. Something subtle and expensive. Barrett Kane, are you asking me on a second date? I am negotiating terms for continued association. She laughed, the sound echoing off the wet street. God, you make romance sound like contract law. Lawyer in training. Occupational hazard. Then let me make a counteroffer. She pulled out her phone. Give me your number. When you have a night off, whenever that is, call me. We will do this again. Something normal. Something that does not require either of us to be anyone except who we are right now. Barrett took her phone, typed in his number, handed it back. Fair warning, he said. I am terrible at texting. I forget to respond for days. It is not personal. You are busy. You have a son and a dying mother and a full-time job and law school. I understand. Do you? Because in my experience, understanding and accepting are different things. Serena tilted her head. Are you trying to talk me out of this? I'm trying to be honest about what this is. I am not good at casual. I cannot be the guy who has fun for a while and then disappears. If we keep doing this, I will get attached. And attachment is dangerous when our lives are this incompatible. Who says they are incompatible? Serena stepped even closer. Barrett, you run a multi-billion-dollar company. I am a bartender who eats ramen most nights so I can afford Leo's school supplies. You are also a law student who wants to protect children. A father who is raising his son alone. A man who turned down a billionaire because his principles matter more than opportunity. She stepped even closer. Those things are not incompatible with who I am. They are incompatible with who you think I am. Before he could respond, she kissed his cheek. Quick, light. Nothing presumptuous. Good night, Barrett. She walked to her car. Not a town car tonight, Barrett noticed, but a simple sedan. She drove herself and disappeared into the rain. Barrett stood on the sidewalk, hand touching his cheek where she had kissed it, and wondered what he had just gotten himself into. Weeks passed in fragments of time stolen between Barrett's obligations. Coffee on a Tuesday morning before his class. Serena in jeans and a sweater, looking almost ordinary. Lunch on a Sunday while Leo was at his grandmother's. Sandwiches in the park, rain threatening but never quite falling. Late-night phone calls after Barrett's shift. Both of them too tired to perform. Just talking in the dark. She did not try to meet Leo. Did not push. Did not suggest changes to Barrett's life that would make room for her. And that restraint, that patience, scared him more than anything because it meant she was serious. It was a Sunday evening when the fear crystallized into words. Barrett had just put Leo to bed. The apartment was quiet except for the rain, always raining in Ravenport, and he sat at his kitchen table with cold coffee and an essay on habeas corpus reform. He should have been writing. Instead, he called Serena. Hi, she answered. He could hear traffic in the background. I am just leaving the office. Long day. Singapore merger finally closed. And she stopped. Sorry, work talk. How was your day? Leo asked about you. Silence on the other end. Then what did he ask? Who the lady was who sent the books? He saw the package before I could hide it. What did you tell him? That she was a friend. Barrett rubbed his eyes. He asked if she was my girlfriend. I said no. He asked if she could be. I said maybe. He asked if that meant he could meet her. More silence. And what did you say to that? Serena asked carefully. I said not yet. That grown-up friendships are complicated. That I needed to be sure before I introduced him to anyone. Barrett took a breath. Then he said, You are scared, Daddy. 7-year-olds see everything. He is right. I am scared. Barrett stood, pacing the small kitchen. Serena, I am terrified because this is not casual anymore. Because I think about you when I should be thinking about tort reform. Because I want to introduce you to Leo. And that want is exactly why I cannot. Why not? Because he will love you. The words came out raw. He is 7. He is lonely. He sees other kids with 2 parents, and he knows he only has one. If I bring you into his life, he will attach to you immediately. He will start drawing you pictures. He will ask when you are coming over. He will start planning a future where you are part of our family, Serena. And when you leave, Not if, when, because, let us be honest, Serena, you have a life that does not include a broke bartender and his kid in Ravenport's dock district. When you leave, he is the one who gets hurt. Not me. Him. He heard her breathing on the other end of the line. Pull over, he said. What? If you are driving, pull over. This conversation does not happen while you are navigating traffic. A pause. Then the sound of a turn signal. Tires on gravel. Engine cutting off. Okay, she said. I am pulled over. Are you going to leave? Is that what you think? That I am entertaining myself with you until something better comes along? I think you are a woman who is used to getting what she wants and moving on when you are satisfied. I think weeks is probably your record for sustained interest in anyone who was not a business acquisition. He expected anger, defensiveness. Instead, Serena laughed, but it was a bitter sound. You are not wrong, she said. My longest relationship was months. Investment banker named Marcus. Ironic, I know. Smart man, handsome. We made sense on paper. He proposed at a charity gala. Hundreds of witnesses. Perfect ring. What happened? I said yes. Because it made sense. Because I was in my mid-30s and everyone said it was time to settle down. We set a date. Hired a planner. Sent save the dates to hundreds of people. She was quiet for a moment. Weeks before the wedding, he asked me what I wanted to name our children someday, and I realized I had never thought about it. Not once. Not in months of dating. Not during the engagement. Not while planning a wedding. I had been planning a wedding, not planning a life. So you called it off. I called it off. Returned the ring. Wrote a very large check to cover canceled vendor fees. Marcus told me I was incapable of love. That I treated people like spreadsheet entries. That I would die alone because I could never care about anyone more than I cared about my company. Harsh. True, though, at the time. She took a breath. Barrett, I am not going to lie to you and pretend I am suddenly a different person. I do not know how to do this. Dating someone with a child. Building something slow. Being patient when every instinct tells me to accelerate timelines and optimize outcomes. Then why are we doing this? Because for the first time in my life, I want to learn how. Because when I am with you, I do not think about quarterly earnings or expansion strategies or what the board expects. I think about knock-knock jokes and whether you have eaten today and how tired you look when you smile. Her voice softened. I think about what it would be like to be part of something that matters more than profit margins. Barrett sat down at his kitchen table, put his head in his free hand. I cannot afford for you to learn how with my son's heart, he said quietly. I know, if you are not sure, if there is any doubt, we stop now. Before Leo knows your name, before this becomes real to him. Barrett, it is already real to me. But is it permanent? The question hung between them. I do not know, Serena said finally. I have never done permanent. I do not know if I am capable of it, but I want to be. For the first time in my life, I want to try. Trying is not enough. Not when a 7-year-old is involved. Then what do you want from me? A guarantee. A promise that I will never leave, never hurt you, never fail. Her voice cracked slightly. I cannot give you that. Nobody can, not even people who are not billionaire workaholics with commitment issues. She was right. He knew she was right. Slow, he said finally. We go slow. You keep being patient. I keep being terrified. And when, if, the time comes for you to meet Leo, we do it carefully. No promises to him. No suggesting you are anything more than Daddy's friend. For how long? As long as it takes for me to believe you are staying. And how will you know? Barrett thought about it. I will not. Not with certainty. But maybe. Maybe there comes a point where the fear of keeping you away becomes bigger than the fear of letting you in. Serena was quiet for a long moment. Then I can work with maybe. After they hung up, Barrett sat in his dark kitchen and wondered if he had just made the best decision of his life or the worst. In his bedroom, through the thin wall, he could hear Leo's gentle snoring. No matter what happened with Serena, that sound, that proof that his son was safe and loved and sleeping peacefully, had to stay protected. Everything else was negotiable. Months later, Serena's phone rang in the middle of the night. She answered immediately, heart pounding. Late-night calls meant emergencies. "It is Barrett." His voice was strained. "I am sorry to call. I know it is late. I need... What is wrong?" "My mother. She fell. Hospice called. They are taking her to the hospital now. But..." His breath shook. "She is asking for me. I need to go, but Leo is asleep. And the neighbor, who usually watches him, is not answering. And I cannot wake him up in the middle of the night to drag him to a hospital." "I will come," Serena said, already reaching for clothes. "Give me your address. I will stay with Leo. You go." "Serena, you do not have to..." "Address, now." He gave it. She was in her car minutes later, breaking speed limits through empty Ravenport streets. Barrett met her at the apartment door, jacket half on, keys in hand, looking like fear incarnate. "He is asleep," Barrett said rapidly. "In his room, first door on the left. He usually sleeps through the night. But if he wakes up, tell him Daddy went to see Grandma, that everything is okay, that I will be back soon. There is juice in the fridge if he is thirsty. He has a stuffed elephant named Peanuts that he needs if he is scared. My number is..." Serena put her hands on his shoulders. "Go. I have got this. You have never met him. I know, but right now your mother needs you, and Leo needs someone here. I am someone. Go." He looked at her for one long moment, seeing her, really seeing her, in sweatpants and a t-shirt with no makeup, hair pulled back, standing in his shabby apartment in the middle of the night. Then he kissed her, fast and desperate and grateful. "Thank you," he whispered against her mouth. Then he was gone, footsteps echoing down the stairwell. Serena stood in the quiet apartment, heart racing, and looked around. Small, clean despite being old. Furniture that was functional but worn. A kitchen table covered in Leo's drawings. Crayons in a coffee can. Law textbooks stacked by the couch. This was Barrett's life. The reality behind the conversations, the physical manifestation of every sacrifice she had heard about, but never quite understood. She walked quietly to Leo's room, pushed the door open gently. A small figure in superhero pajamas, curled around a stuffed elephant, breathing softly. Serena had never wanted children, had never felt the biological clock that other women talked about, had convinced herself motherhood was incompatible with the life she had built. But looking at Barrett's son, this little person who meant everything to the man she was falling in love with, something shifted in her chest. She left the door cracked, settled on the couch with her phone, and waited. Hours passed. Then she heard movement from Leo's room, small footsteps. Then a face appeared in the doorway. Rumpled hair, sleepy eyes, clutching Peanuts the elephant. "You are not Daddy," he said. "No," Serena said gently. "I am Serena. I am your dad's friend. He had to go see your grandma, so he asked me to stay with you until he gets back." Leo processed this with the careful consideration of 7-year-olds evaluating strangers. "Are you the book lady?" Serena blinked. "The what?" "Daddy got books. He said they were from a friend." "Are you the friend?" "Yes," Serena said. "I am the friend." Leo padded into the living room, climbed onto the other end of the couch, studied her seriously. "Is Grandma okay?" "I do not know, honey. Your dad will call when he knows more." "Is she going to die?" The question was matter-of-fact. Too matter-of-fact for a 7-year-old who should still believe in invincibility. "Maybe," Serena said, matching his honesty. "She is very sick. Sometimes sick people do not get better." Leo nodded. hugged Peanuts tighter. Daddy cries sometimes. At night. He thinks I am asleep, but I hear him. Serena's heart cracked. Your dad loves your grandma very much, and he loves you very much. Sometimes people cry when they love people, even if they are okay. Are you going to make Daddy cry? The question was so direct, so innocent, so devastating that Serena could not speak for a moment. I am going to try very hard not to, she said finally. People always say that. Then they leave anyway. Madison's dad said he would never leave. He left. Tommy's mom said she would never leave. She left. You are right. Sometimes people leave even when they promise they will not. And that is not fair. And it hurts. Are you going to leave? Serena looked at this small boy, Barrett's whole world, and knew that whatever she said next mattered more than any business deal she had ever negotiated. Leo, I have only known your dad for a little while, and I do not know what is going to happen with us. But I can promise you this. If I ever have to leave, it will not be because of you. It will not be because I did not care. Sometimes grown-ups cannot stay together, even when they want to. But that would be about me and your dad, not about you. Okay, Leo considered this. Then do you like dinosaurs? The subject change was so abrupt. Serena laughed. I do not know much about dinosaurs. I can teach you. He slid off the couch, ran to his room, returned with an armful of dinosaur books. This is a T-Rex. This is a Triceratops. This is a Velociraptor. They are smart. They hunt in packs. For the next hour, Serena learned about dinosaurs, about continental drift and extinction events and the difference between herbivores and carnivores. Leo narrated with the passionate expertise of a 7-year-old obsessed. Barrett called at dawn. His mother had stabilized. She would be okay for now. He would be home soon. When he walked through the door, he found Serena and Leo on the couch surrounded by dinosaur books, both of them laughing at something. Leo jumped up. Daddy, I taught Serena about dinosaurs. She did not know velociraptors were smart. Barrett looked at Serena. She was still in sweatpants, hair messy, no makeup. She had been awake all night in his apartment teaching his son about dinosaurs, and she had never looked more beautiful. Thank you, he mouthed over Leo's head. She smiled, nodded. Anytime. After Leo went to brush his teeth, a morning ritual that apparently involved detailed negotiations, Barrett pulled Serena aside. You did not have to stay all night. Yes, I did, Serena said. You needed me. Leo needed someone. So I did. He likes you. I like him. He has got your eyes and your ability to make complicated things simple. She touched his cheek. How is your mother? Alive for now. They are moving her back to hospice this afternoon. He leaned into her hand. I was scared. I know. Not just about my mother, about you, about what you would think seeing this. He gestured at the shabby apartment. This is my life, Serena. Late-night emergencies and dinosaur books and a 7-year-old who asks if people are going to leave because too many people have left already. He asked me that. What did you tell him? The truth. That I do not know what is going to happen with us, but that whatever does happen, it will not be because I did not care. Barrett pulled her close, held her like she was the only solid thing in a tilting world. I think I am falling in love with you, he whispered into her hair. I think I have already fallen, she whispered back. They stood there in his tiny apartment holding each other, while Leo sang off-key in the bathroom and morning light filtered through the cheap curtains. 5 minutes had turned into months. Months had turned into this, standing together while the world kept spinning, choosing each other. Even when it was complicated, even when it was scary, even when every logical part of their brains said it could not work. I need to go home, Serena said eventually. Shower. Change. I have a board meeting soon. Will you come back? She looked at him, really looked at him. Exhausted, scared, hoping. Yes, she said. If you want me to. I want you to. Then I will come back tonight after work. Barrett kissed her slowly this time, thoroughly. "You stayed all night," he said when they pulled apart. "I did. Thank you." "Stop thanking me, Barrett. This is what people do when they care about each other. They show up. They stay." She smiled. "Even when it is inconvenient. Even when it is scary. Even when they do not know how it ends." She left then, disappearing into the early morning light. Barrett stood in his doorway, watching her go, and realized something fundamental had shifted. The fear was still there. The worry about Leo getting hurt. The awareness of how different their worlds were. But underneath the fear was something stronger. The certainty that Serena Blake, billionaire, CEO, the woman who had everything, had chosen to stay all night in his shabby apartment, teaching his son about dinosaurs. Not because she had to, because she wanted to, because she had stopped seeing him as an acquisition and started seeing him as home. Months later, Serena stood at the edge of Ravenport's old lighthouse pier, watching the sun set over the harbor. Behind her on the beach, Barrett was teaching Leo how to skip stones. Their laughter carried on the wind, easy, comfortable, the sound of people who belong together. Her assistant called. "Miss Blake, the Singapore team needs your approval on." "Tell them to handle it," Serena said. "That is what I pay them for." "But I always micromanage. I always need to control everything. I always believe the company will fall apart without me." She watched Barrett lift Leo onto his shoulders. "Tell them to make a decision. Tell them I trust their judgment. Tell them I will check in tomorrow." She ended the call. Tomorrow, she was supposed to be in London. A crucial merger. Months of negotiations coming to fruition. Instead, she was here on a beach in Ravenport with a bartender turned law student and his 7-year-old son who decided she needed to know about dinosaurs and space. Her board thought she had lost her mind. She thought they might be right. "Serena," Leo called. "Watch this." She watched him skip a stone, 3 hops across the calm water, cheered like it was the most impressive thing she had ever seen, because maybe it was. Barrett walked over, left Leo hunting for more perfect stones. "You okay?" he asked. "I lost a bet," Serena said. "What bet?" "I bet myself you would not last 5 minutes, that first night at the bar. I thought you would see the money, see the opportunity, and start calculating angles. I was pretty rude to you. You were honest. There is a difference." She turned to face him. "I thought 5 minutes and you would be like everyone else, trying to impress me, trying to get something from me. And instead you stayed all night talking to me like I was a person. Then you turned me down to protect your son. Then you made me wait, made me prove myself, made me work for something I usually just acquire." Barrett smiled. "So you lost your bet spectacularly." She took his hand. "But I think I won something better." "What is that?" "A life that does not feel like a prison. A man who chose principles over opportunity. A kid who teaches me about dinosaurs and calls me out when I check my phone too much at dinner. He does that to me too." "I know you raised him right." They stood together watching Leo play, and Serena thought about the woman who had walked into North Harbor Bar months ago, lonely, exhausted, convinced that success and happiness were mutually exclusive. That woman had made a bet. 5 minutes before the bartender showed his true colors. That woman had lost, and in losing had won everything she had been missing. "Barrett," she said quietly, "I am keeping the London office and Singapore and all 12 countries, but I am delegating, hiring a proper COO, building a company that does not require me to sacrifice everything else. Because of you. Because I want to be the person Leo waves to from the beach. Because I want Sunday mornings in bed with you. Because I want a life, not just a legacy." Barrett kissed her forehead. "That is terrifying." "I know I am terrified." "Good. Fear means you are doing something that matters." Leo ran back, pockets full of stones. "Serena, Daddy says you are really rich." "Is that true?" Serena and Barrett exchanged glances. "Yes," Serena said. "I have a lot of money." "Cool, can we get a dinosaur?" "Leo," Barrett started. A fake one, Leo clarified. For the museum. They need donations, Miss Martinez said. Serena laughed. Yes, we can get the museum a dinosaur. Yes! Leo pumped his fist, then ran back to the water. We? Barrett asked quietly. We, Serena confirmed. If that is okay. It is okay. They watched Leo play until the sun set completely. Then they walked back to Barrett's car, his old sedan that rattled and needed a new transmission, and drove to the apartment, his small space that Leo had lived in his entire life. Serena could have offered to move them. Penthouse in downtown Ravenport, house in the suburbs, somewhere that did not leak when it rained. But she did not, because Barrett was not a project to fix. Leo was not a child to rescue. Their life, complicated and messy and beautiful, was not something that needed optimizing. It just needed someone willing to show up, to stay, to prove that love was not about grand gestures or perfect circumstances. Sometimes love was just staying all night while someone taught you about dinosaurs. Sometimes love was losing a bet you had made with yourself about how long someone would last. Sometimes love was a billionaire and a bartender figuring out how to build something that did not make sense on paper, but made perfect sense everywhere else. That night, after Leo was asleep, after the dinosaur books were put away, Barrett and Serena sat on his worn couch drinking cheap wine, talking about nothing important. I am still scared, he admitted. Me too. I do not know if this will work. Neither do I. But I want to try. Serena leaned her head on his shoulder. Then we try. Scared and uncertain and completely unprepared. We try anyway. Outside, Ravenport rain started again, soft and steady and eternal. Inside, two people who had been alone in different ways figured out how to be together in one way. And somewhere in the space between 5 minutes and forever, they both realized the best bets were not the ones you won. They were the ones you lost and discovered something better than winning in the process.